All right. Hey, Gabe. So I'm so excited you could take some time to meet with me. I've gotten a lot of questions about Kambo, and so I just want to talk to someone who's experienced, who's a practitioner, who's kind of been in that space for a while, so you could share your knowledge. So yeah, if you want to just start by introducing yourself.
Thank you, Michaela. My name is Gabriel. Yeah, I've been a Kambo practitioner since May 2022, and it's really been the most magical thing I've ever done, being able to be a steward of the medicine and bring it to Thailand. I live here in Koh Samui, and there's no practitioners here on the entire island, so being able to share it in this part of the world has been the most fulfilling work I've ever done, really.
Yeah, I mean, especially after my experience, like I can only imagine being able to actually help people and guide through that, like how powerful that is. I think it might be really beneficial just to start off explaining what Kambo is.
Okay. So I guess the indigenous tribes refer to it as the vaccine of the rainforest, and they've been practicing with it for the past 500 years. And it's funny the way that they found it is the tribes were getting really sick from this disease, and they were having trouble hunting for food, and the tribes were dying. And so the leader, the head of the tribe, sat with Mother Ayahuasca, and during his journey she told him and pointed him to the frog and said that the frog will help you. So yeah, it's a secretion from the frog. It has no known predator, so they take the sweat off of it, and it's administered through superficial burns on the skin. And it's pretty much, I always say it's like a 12-month detox in 20 minutes. And it's not just detoxifying your physical body, it detoxifies your mind, your emotions, like every layer of yourself gets like anything that doesn't belong in your body, Kambo just kicks it out. And the tribes would call it, it removes panema, which is like a negative auric cloud that's permeating or poisoning your soul. So it just clears the dust off so you can come back to yourself. And a lot of tribes will use it before ayahuasca ceremonies so it can do the dirty work, because normally you will purge during ayahuasca as well. So if you take chemo before, the ayahuasca doesn't have to do the dirty work, and then you can have a much deeper connection with the aya.
I wish I knew that.
Ayahuasca can be like really tough,
Yeah.
but I found in my experience, if you do Kambo like 2 or 3 days before, it's so smooth. Like, you still will purge, but it's not like you're in agony for 8 hours.
Wow, that's awesome. That's good to know too.
Mhm.
The next ceremony,
Yeah.
that's a possibility. And then just with the frogs, like they're not harmed in the process, right? Because the tribes really honor and
Yeah,
protect them. It's not like the
for
frogs
sure.
are killed.
Yeah, that's it's not that important, but I've been vegan for several years, and it was like a huge objection for me if the frogs were farmed or harvested in a way that is violent or hurts them physically or anything. So this is in the advanced training. I'm going to take it this year, but you'll be able to go into the forest, and they'll do this like mating call, and then they'll capture the frog, and then they'll string up their legs and on a stick, and they'll tickle it, and then they'll take the medicine off. And it's done with the highest humility and respect,
Yeah.
because it's so much healing to the tribes. And yeah, it was a huge objection for me, because I'm so against factory farming or just any kind of like non-ahimsa practice.
Yeah, well,
Like
and
non
I actually read, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but that they tried, there was a period where they would try to like capture a farmer or something like that, and that they actually don't produce the secretions in the same way.
Yes.
And so
Yeah,
they're
yeah, 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 yeah.
like, they literally have
Correct.
to have them in the wild in order for them to create the secretion and
Correct.
yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah. There's a book called Sapo for My Soul, and yeah, they tried making like a frog farm, and the quality of the medicine is not the same as if they were to take it from the rainforest.
wow. And it makes
So
sense.
magical.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it
does.
really is. I mean, as much as I've looked into the research for it and the studies that have been done about the peptides that are in the secretions, and it's not exactly known, and they're not really able to separate each peptide. So they have an idea of
Hmm.
what certain peptides do, but it's the magic of when they're all together, the
It's a
benefits of,
cocktail of it,
yeah,
for sure, for sure. Yeah, and the benefits are like endless. Yeah, it's helped me in such a beautiful way, and everyone that I've been able to serve so far in the past year, like profound, life-changing, lasting benefits.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to kind of just talk on like the potential benefits, and then I'll share a little bit about my story, just like why I
Sure,
do it. So yeah, if just some of the, I know you touched
sure.
on some
So yeah,
really,
yeah, yeah. So I had a client in December, and she was a student in my yoga classes, and she had been diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And the doctor had told her that she had not much time. And she knew for sure that she didn't want to go the chemo, like typical pharma route.
yeah.
And it was so crazy. It was just like divine. Like the frog found her, it was just through yoga and through Kambo that we found each other. And so my teacher put together a treatment plan. It was 24 sessions in 30 days. I wish I could pull up a picture right now as I'm talking about it, but it was really beautiful. We like worked from the left to the right and then the ankles and both arms, and it was just back and forth and 2 days in a row, 1 day off, 2 days in a row, 1 day off. And
Oh,
each day, each session, I could see like her eyes would be glowing brighter and brighter. And every session, she felt like a new woman. And it's just been so beautiful. She hasn't been to the doctor yet to get a re-diagnosis, but from even before I started serving her, I knew in my heart that I could already see the text message from her saying that the tumor like went into remission. And yeah, it's been really cool. And you can heal like so much like emotional traumas. I have clients that have been exposed to a lot of heavy metals, and yeah, it's really interesting to see the purge. The color of it really tells a lot about what is being released.
mm.
So I always tell my clients to get clear white buckets so we can really analyze. Look at these dots.
Wow.
These are mondo. This is one arm. So
Holy shit. How many dots did she end up having?
there was like it would be like from 3 to 4 to 6 to 3 to 6, like massive, massive doses.
Wow.
It was
But I mean, when you're
yeah,
dealing with, stage 3 cancer, like sometimes that takes big moves,
yeah.
It's
You gotta be aggressive, and not like I'm not being aggressive to her. I'm like aggressive to the cancer, and it was so beautiful because there's so many sessions where, like, you could see black shit coming out. I would get goosebumps as you could see it, black cancerous something leaving her body.
oh,
And yeah, it's like she glows so bright now, and I'm excited for her to go get checked and for
yeah,
her to be yeah, fully back to herself.
that's amazing. And I do want to, yeah, that's such a profound story. And it's cool that you can take something like, so a little bit about my reason why I went. I've done it before, so I wasn't too hesitant to find a practitioner and do it again here. Um, And the first session was 4 dots, and the second session was 5. He said 6, but then I got a little nervous. So it was 5. But I originally went because I've just been stuck in such grief and such dense energy. And I know in order to change your state, an option is like do something physical. So that's kind of on me.
Mhm,
I will be doing something like bungee jumping to like, change that state. But there's other
mhm.
tools as in like Kambo or, therapy. And I've been doing all the right things, so therapy and stuff like that. But I wanted something that could really shift in a more holistic, sustainable way, I guess. Because like
Mhm,
bungee jumping, that
mhm.
shifts your state short period of time, right? You feel great, adrenaline rush.
Elastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, afterwards it's like, okay, well, that was great, but, then you kind of sit back and that energy can come back. So, anyways, I was really intrigued to do Kambo, and after the first session, already the next day, I was like, oh my God, I feel really good. And I remember
Mhm,
a few days after that, the first ceremony, I just kind of paused and was like, wow, like this is the first time I've felt this happy since my dad died.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah,
That's so
and I remember doing something, and then I was like, I really feel like at peace and fulfilled. Um,
mhm,
And so then I was like, of course, I'm going to do my second session. And
mhm,
we did that. And then I think it's been like a month now. And that energy has still shifted. Like, of course, grief is still a journey. And like, I still miss my dad.
mhm.
And that, that's expected. I'm not saying you can just do a Kambo ceremony and your grief's completely gone. But the
Yeah.
dense energy I was in, and like the
Mhm,
sadness, which was often coming out as agitation and anger, because I just like, it was really hard for me to sit with that emotion. is gone. Like I'm not agitated, I'm not angry, I'm at peace. And so it's like I spent, each ceremony is maybe 30 minutes of discomfort, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
maybe an hour, and then that day you kind of feel a little off or whatever, and I just took a nap or whatever. But so maybe let's say 2 hours total of what I don't know if I could have ever found through therapy, of years of therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
this little bit of discomfort for that massive shift. And not only that,
Mm-hmm.
like physically I feel better. My stomach issues have gone away. My skin has cleared.
Yes.
I had a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
bad rash,
Mm-hmm.
gone. And it's just like it's mind blowing how beneficial it can be for ailments of physical ailments and then also emotional.
Emotional and spiritual. Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's truly magic. I was really struggling with cannabis and caffeine for the longest time, and I made some intentions to like really let go of these like little addictions that were just looming. And yeah, infusing it into the medicine, and then literally the moment I was done with the session, I had no craving, and the next day I have no craving, and it's been like 2 months since I've had any craving. So it really helps with like addictions and physical, emotional. Just like we're so like we carry so much with us, and I think Kambo really allows us to reboot the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell my clients, it's like when the Wi-Fi is not working very well, and then you just like unplug the router for a little bit, and then plug it back in, and then everything works better. It's faster, better, and smoother.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Oh, that's great. Yeah, one other thing I do want to point out is it also can help people with Lyme disease. And I know that's something
Uh-huh.
that's really difficult to treat. And I remember doing a ceremony with a gentleman, and he came back the next day, and he was talking to the shaman, and was just like, I can't believe how much better I feel. And he was talking about like how he was feeling suicidal and so lethargic. And then he was like, and granted that was just the next day, so but and I didn't follow up with him, but it was just the magic it has and the array of things it can help with is just pretty just amazing.
Yep. Yeah, and it's so cool that like science, like there's some studies on it, but I feel like science can't really pinpoint the actual magic behind it.
Yeah,
And I think they're of course they're gonna try to like extract the peptides and make their own medicines out of it, but I think nothing will compare to like actually working with the spirit of it.
yeah, absolutely. And then with that, so if you could just name, like, are there contraindications for someone to do Cambo? Like, is there a reason that they shouldn't?
Yeah, so I think the main ones is type 2 diabetes, pregnant women, people who have heart conditions like with pacemakers or they have high cholesterol. I think that's like because when you sit with the medicine, your heart rate like skyrockets for a little bit. So if you have really high anxiety or issues with your heart, or if you're on any kind of heart medication, it's definitely a no-go. And yeah, I got a list of them right here. I can tell you just the top ones I think that are really important. Yeah, it's mainly, or if you've had active ulcers, heart murmur, if you're taking immune suppressants, epilepsy, high or low blood pressure that requires medication, because anything that has to do with the heart.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, another contraindication, people think that, Kambo is such a detox. So if you're fasting, it's definitely not recommended to sit with Kambo. Like you want to have a nice full meal the day before your session. Some people will fast for like a week and they'll tell me that they're ready to sit with it. And that's like recipe for a pass out and an oh shit situation. The latest contraindication, this is important. If you've had the COVID vaccine,
Mm.
so if it's within 6 months, you don't want to serve them. You want to wait till after a half a year
Wow.
because there have been a couple accidents since. Yeah.
Like what? What do you mean?
Well, I think because I don't I'm not sure who's gonna be watching this, but the COVID, it's DNA manipulation,
Yeah.
and it's really and so we see
What's
so many.
what's the yeah, because we'll stay light on this because I know we all have our different opinion on the vaccine
Yeah,
and
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I unfortunately did take it, but anyways, but it's been 2 years, and so I had that time in between to do the detox
Yeah, yeah.
and have done some other things in order to process that detox.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
what could happen? Do they know what could happen if you take it too soon?
Yeah, it's like it's hard. It's heart stuff, and then like they're almost like the spirit of the COVID vaccine and the Kambo are like it creates like a battle within your body, and it can really create some upheaval in the client that's being served.
Yeah, that is very
So
important.
6 months at minimum
Okay.
from their last shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel syndrome, because you know how it like really does some work on your intestinal tract. So if you have a really sensitive gut, it's really not recommended. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Mostly pregnant women and people with heart issues. Those are what you want to watch out for. And that's why I'm so grateful that I went through the training because there's a neighboring island here in Samui in Kopangan, and everyone's just buying Kambo from the internet and calling themselves practitioners. And it's really it it gives a bad name for all the practitioners that actually have been certified because they don't go through. There's so much safety that's involved, and I think it's of the highest importance to be safe with what you're doing. So we're taught how to use waivers, how to vet someone, and how to just we have to get CPR certified. We have to know just everything in case anything bad were to happen. So I'm really glad to keep the lineage pure
Yeah.
and yeah,
I mean,
hold it in a
that's
way.
important anytime you're doing any sort of plant medicine, right? That the person
Mhm.
that you're working with is legitimate and safe because you're in such a depending on what you're taking, but you're in a very vulnerable state and you need to be protected and it needs to be safe. And so if you're doing it with someone who's in it just to make money or just bought
Mhm.
it and is just wants to share it, or there's a lot of people now um, that basically like have one experience themselves and all of a sudden they're calling them a shaman, a medicine person, or a
Yeah,
practitioner, and they're like,
there's
now
a lot
I'm
of
gonna
that
share.
going
Yeah,
on.
and
Yeah.
it's just like, no, 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 hold up. Like there is a lot of safety involved and
Mhm.
just like you're saying, to be able to vet people to make sure that it's a right fit.
It's the highest importance because if one person that is not certified has an accident, it it ripples across the entire community, and it's like it's just really irresponsible
Yeah.
and really immature spiritually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
really
so
glad.
with that being mentioned, where can someone find a certified, responsible, practitioner?
Yeah, so I got certified with Certified Kambo Practitioners International. There's a website and there's a directory, and it's like based on region. Let me see if I can. I'll give you the website after our chat today.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah, these are all the same people that went through the same training as me. It's 8 days, and it's that was the fucking hardest thing I've ever done in my life. We had to sit with medicine twice a day, every day for 8 days.
Oh man.
We wake up in the morning, we learn some stuff, we dose ourselves, dose each other, and then we have a light meal, learn some more stuff, dose ourselves, dose each other. It's like so intense.
Yeah. Like
But I
you
felt so
have to be
great
like, no,
afterwards.
I'm not. Like, was there just days where you're like, I don't want to do this?
Yeah, no, there after the first day, I'm like, maybe I should go home. I should just like not do this. I'm having really second thoughts, but I'm so glad that I went through it because it's had such a profound impact on my life. And I'm so grateful.
Well, yeah, and the people you've worked with as well.
Yeah, that's the most gratifying when I receive text messages from my clients telling me that they're like feel like newborn babies. I'm like, hey, I told myself from the beginning, even with a cancer client, like I don't want to take any credit. There's so much spiritual ego, especially out here in Southeast Asia. So I just have to constantly remind myself that I'm just a messenger and that I'm not healing people. I'm just like the steward bringing it to them. I don't want to like get to my head. I
That's a
think
really
humility is really
humble,
important.
humble way to view it.
Humility is such an important like aspect in the medicine world because people really it really gets to their head sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I was just thinking, so I was really honored with the gentleman who did mine. He was actually from the tribe um, in Brazil that like raises the frog, and it's been passed down into his family. And it just so happens that he was available, and so he was just so quiet and humble, and like
Mhm.
just he only spoke Spanish and just was able to like his presence was just profound, right? And it wasn't him like trying to be anything or like create this whole spiritual, whatever. It was like, I'm here to serve you the medicine. This is how it's going to be done. And,
Yep.
like it just wasn't the
Oh, I
simple.
got chills. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was really amazing. Yeah, I was really lucky to be able to have him serve me. So
Yeah, what an honor to be able to like have it that close to the tradition.
yeah,
That's really, really cool.
yeah. I think the last thing to touch on is what a ceremony looks like. Like, what can someone expect, like, kind of start to finish, and like, what can they expect to feel and go through?
Yeah, so like from I guess I'll run through it from like the technical stuff and then to like the how to feel. So usually actually, you know what's funny? I think the hardest part about Kambo sessions is drinking all the water before. Everything else is really not that challenging. But drinking the 2 liters of water, you're like already about to explode by the time like you start the session. So people are always so scared about what it's gonna feel like or the heart beating and the sweating. I'm like, no, no, no. Just drinking the water is the difficult part.
Yes, I agree.
So
And you're like, I just don't want any more. You're like,
yeah, yeah. And then especially when I try to encourage them to drink during the session too, they're like, this is the last thing that I want to put in my body.
yeah,
So usually when I head to my client's like hotel or a house, I'll tell them to start drinking water. And it's really, yeah, like I said, it's really important to have 2 liters in your body before the session starts. And once I arrive, I'll have them sign a wait.
sorry.
Say again?
Why is it
The
important?
water. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So the water acts as the carrier to remove the toxins from your body because when you place the Kambo on, all your organs are like wringing out like a dirty towel. You imagine them just like squeezing all the toxins and energetic shit out, and it goes into the stomach. So the water helps like, carry it out. My teacher also says that the water acts as like the lubricant for the camel to move through your body. So if your cells are hydrated, it moves more smoothly throughout your body. So hydration is really important during sessions. So after I arrive, I'll have them sign a waiver. There's like I have like it's like new tech mixed with like old teachings. I have like an iPad with like an electronic waiver, and they'll have to sign each part and take a selfie. It's pretty official. And then it like creates even more anxiety because they're reading through it. They're like, "Oh, what if I die?" I'm like, "Well,
Right.
this is why you signed. This is why you signed the waiver."
Just sign right here.
Yeah. Give me your name, your birthday, all that stuff. So after they do that, I'll be setting up the altar. I'll be like smudging the place. It's important to, with sage or Palo Santo to clean the energy in the space. Oh, we got 10 minutes left. So I'll clean the space, I'll smudge myself, I'll smudge the tools, and I'll smudge the client, and then we'll sit down and then we'll have intention setting. So I know you and we met through peyote sessions, and intention is like the driving force of our life,
Yeah.
right? Like with yoga practice or just the way that you do anything, your intent behind it is everything. So when you approach Kambo, you can't have like, oh, I just want to experience what this is like, or I just want to detox my body. Those are really like surface level, elementary intentions.
Yeah.
So I always try to really go deep with the client and try to figure out what it is that they're suffering from. And usually no, always physical ailments is an expression of what's going on inside. So I always try to figure out what traumas or what kind of things that they went through in their childhood so we can kind of really pinpoint what it is that they want to release,
Yeah.
like the real source of their suffering. So
Yeah.
once we get my teacher like taught me that they want to be in tears by the time you get the intention right, because when you're crying, when you're making that prayer, that's when the session is going to be so powerful and so deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give them the stick, they'll infuse it with their intention. We use mapacho tobacco in sessions, and it's not like cigarettes that you buy in a gas station. It's pure tobacco leaf, and tribes, it's one of like the most revered medicines in the indigenous tribes, and they'll use it for grounding, protection. And during the session when someone's struggling to purge, you'll blow them a mapacho smoke in their face, and it'll usually trigger the purge to come out. And yeah, after the mapacho smoke, we'll collect the saliva, and we use the saliva to mix with the Kambo because the DNA from your saliva will tell the medicine where to go in your body. I think there's a lot of practitioners that use water or they'll use their own saliva, which is okay too, but it's best to use theirs so that they can have that connection together.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll take a tamashe vine. They'll use like the tribes will use this vine to make baskets and weave their roofs and clothing. But the tamashe vine is help what they call it opening the gates.
Mhm.
So they'll make the superficial burns to expose the lymphatic system. And yeah, it's very round and it stays very even when it's lit, kind of like an incense stick. So yeah, you use that to make the burns. You open it up and you'll expose the lymphatic system. You chop and mix the medicine up. And I usually say one more prayer of gratitude before I apply the medicine. So we'll like hold it together, ask the Kambo to be gentle, but clean out and do what it needs to do. We thank and we thank the Matses tribes for passing on the lineage. And then yeah, I'll apply the medicine. I have like a nice little timer. I'll set it for 20 minutes. And usually after 2 to 3 minutes, the client will start getting flush, like they're all the blood is rushing into the vital organs.
Yeah.
And then once the body realizes that there's peptides and it's good for you, the blood will start to kind of go back into the body. And so usually the purge, some people are so hung up on vomiting when they sit with medicine. And it's really not about throwing up with Kambo. The purge can show up in so many different ways. You can be shaking, you can burp, you can scream, it can come out the other end. So people are always so hung up that they need to throw up in a bucket, but the purge can come out in many ways. And usually after 4 to 5 minutes, they'll start feeling a little nauseous. And that's when I'll grab the bucket. I'll use the rattles because rattles help like disperse and loosen up the energy for it to be released. And yeah, usually from the 15-minute mark to the 5-minute mark, they're throwing up and just in it. They're just fully in it. And as a practitioner, I gotta like hold space for them, but also help them if they need anything, if they need to go to the toilet. I think the clients that have received the most benefits, they make it to the toilet and they're purging out of their ass and they're sweating and they're purging in the bucket at the same time. It's coming out of every hole at once. I've been there so many times. But after it's like, yeah, that's the good stuff when it's just like every hole is just being detoxified. And yeah, it's really beautiful. And you
Yeah.
can analyze like usually yellow and orange is like emotions. If it's foamy, it's like beliefs and thought patterns. If the purge is green and blue, it's like heavy metals and fungus and toxins that are leaving the body. And usually if it's black, it's like entities and spirits.
Wow, I
So
didn't know about that. I knew you could tell something about the color, but I didn't know what it was. So mine
yeah,
was
yeah,
very yellow,
yeah.
foamy, and sometimes a little bit of green. No, it was
Yeah.
more like
So
yellowish, a little bit of green. Yeah.
definitely like especially like what you said about your father and just grieving, it's definitely like emotions being released.
Yeah.
So yeah, after 20 minutes, I'll take the medicine off. You'll wash it, you'll clean it with agua de Florida. It's like the shaman's water. It's like a antibacterial, antiseptic. And after they settle down, they're laying down, I'll apply the dragon's blood.
Hmm.
It's not actually blood from a dragon, but it serves as a liquid bandage.
Yeah.
And then they're on their way. Yeah, I tell them that they can eat some fruit and stay away from, you know, oily fat. So, and like the ayahuasca diet, just very sattvic, calm, close to earth foods. And usually, yeah, I'll check on them 6, 9 hours afterwards, and then I'll call them the next day. And usually they're glowing pretty bright. And sometimes they need more sessions, especially if it's something that's like deep from their childhood or yeah.
And typically someone starts with what, like maybe 4 dots the first session?
The way I was trained, three to start. Then you can kind of gauge where they're at. You also ask them, like, I usually ask what their tolerance to discomfort is, like whether they've done ice baths or sauna or they've stood on nails before, or just like what their pain tolerance is. And usually by that, I can kind of gauge
Okay.
how much to give them. But 3 dots maximum on the first, and then you can kind of see how they connect with it. And usually I'll give them more on the second and the third and the fourth.
And how, like,
But
if I know it varied, like the woman you were talking about with cancer, she had a very specific treatment. But is there
mm,
a recommendation of how many ceremonies you should do in a certain like moon cycle?
Yeah, so the indigenous tribes, they recommend doing 3 sessions during a lunar cycle. So from full moon to full moon, you do three. You can do them 3 days in a row. I've had clients that do it one every other day, once a week. And yeah, this is how they refer to it as the jungle inoculation. Like you've been vaccinated to be protected for up to a year from energetic, emotional, and physical disease. It's like you have like a force field of frog spirit protecting you. Because normally the first session, people have like a lot of anxiety. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what it's going to be like. So I always recommend 3 because then they can go so much deeper after they know what the first session is going to be like and all the fear is gone and they know that they're in good hands. But I've also had clients that have had 1 session and they've had profound effects.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I just had one because that was kind of where I was at, and I didn't
Mhm.
really know better or whatever, and it was still really beneficial.
Mhm.
This time I've only had 2 so far, but I'll be looking to do the third. And I do want to point out
Yeah.
that because when you showed that picture, you can't even see my dots. Like, so I want to tell people that like, yeah, you can't even see
Yeah,
them. You
they're
can't.
not permanent. Yeah, usually for fair skinned people, they'll disappear quite quickly, but I'm quite dark skinned and these have been here for a really long time.
Oh yeah, okay. The one on my
Yeah.
legs, I don't know if I can
Yeah,
show
the ankle ones
you.
too. I think it's like a blood pressure thing because like your legs, there's so much like down pressure, so that there's just I don't know. I think the leg ones stay way longer.
Yeah, my definitely, and I think just mine was drier too, but you can definitely see mine a
Yeah.
bit more. But yeah,
And I
like
spent a lot of time in the sun. If you're in the sun a lot, and then like if you pick them off, they'll kind of scab. And I really like them. They're like Kambo, like frog kisses. And then like
I love
they
that.
always it always starts a conversation. People are like, "What's that on your arm?" And then it just kind of rolls into that. And a lot of my clients I've found just from having dots on my arm.
Well, and I found too the people who are interested are the ones that's like the calling to the medicine. So when people have
Yes.
asked me like, "Oh, what's that on your arm?" It's always like this invitation for them, and often then they do go do Kambo, like just like you had
Yep.
mentioned. It's
Yep.
not really talked about or shared in the world. I don't think it gets the attention that it deserves of how beneficial
Mhm.
it can be.
Mhm.
And I do
Mhm.
want to note that like when you're under the medicine, you're still capable of like controlling it's not hallucinogenic. Someone had asked me like, oh, is it similar to Aya? And it's like, no, it's not hallucinogenic. You're still in your body. Like I'm capable of like
Mhm.
picking up my bucket. I'm capable of going to the bathroom,
Yep.
a little bit
Yep.
of assistance. So yeah, it really is profound, the healing that you can
Mhm.
for a period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I- I'm so grateful that it's here in this time in history right now where they don't really know like how to heal themselves, and there's so much like information from the media and external sources that are telling them otherwise. And I think if it didn't come from the earth, you shouldn't take it. You shouldn't eat it. You shouldn't put it in your body. So I'm really glad to, yeah, just be able to share it in this way. It's
Yeah.
really going to help a lot of people, and it's going to continue to. I'm so glad it's helped you in this way, and it's gonna each time that you feel the call to revisit it again, it'll just help clear out all these cobwebs of the psyche,
Yeah. Yeah.
bringing you back to yourself.
I think it's really cool how, or just flat out magical that you come with your intention, and that's of course what it helps you with. But then there's like this ripple effect, and you're just like, oh my God, like for me, like my skin's cleared up. Wow, I wasn't
Yep.
expecting that. Like, you
Mhm.
know, my stomach issues are gone. Wasn't expecting
Yep.
that. When we first
Mhm.
got to Bali, I kept getting sick because Leia would get sick, and then I'd get sick, and so it was like this. I haven't gotten sick, so it's just like,
Mhm.
yeah, of course I had my intention, but you can't really always predict everything that it's really going to help you with.
Yeah, I love when it's like pleasantly surprised. You're like, oh, I'm sleeping better. I feel stronger at the gym. I don't get mad at these things I used to get mad at anymore. It's just, uh, yeah, I don't think there'll be maybe hopefully there'll be a day where a holistic scientist can do some quality, unbiased research on it. But I think it's just one of those things that it's probably just going to stay this mystical, like ambiguous, undescribable thing that people can't really put their finger on.
Yeah. I mean, there's part of me that I hope it does because what I don't think, because I don't want, my biggest fear would be like a pharmaceutical company thinking that they can then take the peptides, break it down, totally
Yeah.
strip it from
Package
the
it into a
spirit.
pill.
Yeah, exactly. All you have to do is just take this pill every day. You know, the frogs,
Right.
like it has to have that spirit. And because, you know,
Yeah.
they've tried with ayahuasca, they've tried taking
Uh-huh.
these spiritual medicines and totally stripping them from the earth, totally stripping them from the spirit, and then trying to
Mhm.
concoct them from like a chemical manufacturer side. And it's just like,
Mhm.
it's not the same.
Yep. Yeah, it has to be like approach with reverence and respect and yeah, with proper intent. It
Yeah.
doesn't work the same if you're doing it just to do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Was there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'll send you the links for the Kambo practitioners directory. And if people ever have any questions, they can reach out to me on Instagram or through you or however. I'd love to any way I can help inform people or, bring them to the medicine. I feel fulfilled to do it. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get your website and information and stuff. So if people
yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
in Thailand,
Yeah, yeah. If they're in Thailand and if they're in Koh Samui, I would be so glad to slap some Kambo on them and help them kick the bones out.
yeah, awesome. It'd be a perfect way to like, depending on what their Thailand trip looked like, a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah. I have several clients that came here just for the ceremony. And actually, my teacher, so this is not like a gloat or any kind of bragging, but I've served Kambo 100 times already since my training. And
Wow.
he's like so proud. And he told me that we had a call last month. He's like, you need to open a Kambo clinic, like have like an actual space that people can come to receive the medicine from me. So that was one of my goals for 2023 is to like open a Campbell clinic that has like a studio for yoga practice and ice bath and sauna and just a place where I can do all the things that I love to share in one place. Maybe a vegan restaurant too. I think that definitely be on the list. So be on the lookout. 2023, Coke Cambo. It's gonna be cool. I'm very
Yeah,
excited.
that sounds like a really, I mean, I hang out there all the time. I love sauna and
Yeah, it could be the place.
yeah.
Come pick your brains out and then fill yourself with some like nice nourishing food and then drink really clean water that's like distilled air. Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Yeah. No, I wish you all the best on that endeavor. That sounds awesome.
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you.
We
Thank you
should,
so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Michaela, for having me. And yeah, I hope that if someone feels called to the medicine, they can just reach out to one of us and we can lead them in the right direction.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for taking the time to chat with me. And
It's an honor.
yeah, until next time.
Until next time, thank you.